Right, how are we doing everybody? Welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. Today we've got a fantastic video for you and it's all about the driver. One of the questions that I always get when I put stuff about the golf swing on the channel is, Russ, is the video applicable for driver? And today we are going to be talking solely about driver, but also by the end of the video you're going to understand how you can blend the whole thing together throughout your whole golf swing. This channel is all about you guys and you that are putting the effort in towards your game to help you understand the golf swing and improve. Pop in the comments box below before we get started in the video how you're generally getting on with your golf and videos that you'd potentially like to see upcoming on the channel, because it's all about you and your progression. But for today, let's get stuck in to a good driver video. When it comes to the driver, very much the struggling aspect of the driver, and I'm sure lots of you will resonate with this, is I'm great with my driver, not good with my irons, or I'm good with my irons and not so good with the driver. Why is that the question? Well, I think it's this sort of 2D perspective of the golf swing. It's like with our irons we think, okay, we've got to strike down, and with our driver we think we've got to strike up. But the problem with the idea of solely just striking up, and this is what I tend to see with most amateurs, is as you start striking up, this essentially just means that your body freezes and you kind of chicken wing it through that hitting area. And that sort of shallowing hit will help you hit the driver, but not necessarily to your capacity. And you start to apply that sort of technique in towards your irons, then this would explain fundamentally why you really struggle with any sort of compression and consistency hitting irons. So today's video is about blending all of the above. So the first thing that I tend to see as the biggest problem is this: got to hit up on the ball and just the very static nature of the body. Big problem, because like I say, you might get away with driver, but it's massively going to hinder your irons. Okay, the second biggest problem is the length of the club. People can't handle the length of the club, right? They can't handle it. Shorter clubs, you can get away with the club shaft coming down more vertical. Longer clubs, it's massively going to punish you. And again, this is one of the reasons why people start tilting and leaning back, because it helps you get the club coming down at a better angle. But ultimately, you're going to end up in the same position where you're going to end up so far back behind the ball that you're going to have a problem holistically applying the same sort of technique. So the question is, if you haven't asked it in your mind already, is what's the answer? And the answer is that we always have to fundamentally do two things. Yes with the driver and yes with the irons. We have to rotate the body. Your chest, your hips, everything has to move through towards the direction where you're going within every golf shot, or especially with every full golf shot. The problem is, a lot of people that would go, yeah, okay, but then I feel like I'm just going to swing over the top or strike too steep. Fine. But you have to understand that your body is a completely separate entity from your hands and your arms. So your hands and your arms are what help you control the club shaft. So if the club shaft's too much this way, it's not a fault of the body, it's the fault of the hands and the arms. And we're trying to get this blend of making sure that we turn. So when we trigger the turn and the rotational movement in the golf swing, what we have to make sure that we do to match it up is we have to keep the club on plane. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to get a feeling of throwing the club to the side of the body. And this is something that works really well with people that I teach online. And the brilliant thing about helping somebody with an online lesson is it's suggestive based. And what we say is, I go, right, okay, well, when you're hitting your driver, I want you to imagine a big pool of water to the side of your body here that you're trying to ultimately throw and dunk the club in towards the ground. That's the feeling. And then you guys might be thinking, okay, well, I get that, but then how am I going to end up behind the ball? And the reason why? Because you're going to be turning your chest towards the target as you're throwing, and then you're going to get the blend of all of it together. The funny thing is, what does throwing the club actually mean? It doesn't actually widen and slow you down as much as you potentially think. What it does, it just helps you keep it on plane. See, you kind of start turning, you might feel like you're going to be here. But if you throw the club, it just helps the arm stay more, shall we say, pronated, which means the watch stays more up to the sky as you're throwing the club down. So it helps you find plane whilst also rotating the body. And all of a sudden, yes, it will help with driver in a massive way. And we know lots of pros when we see them on the range and they're kind of doing these sort of pre-rehearsal drills and exercises where they're working on that sort of throwing the club feeling whilst also turning the body, because then you can get the best of both worlds. And the other benefit for this is that, tees won't stay in the ground today, is that you can also apply it to your fairway woods, to your hybrid. So if you're like, oh, I can't stop topping and can't stop miss-hitting my hybrids and my fairway woods, it's because you're looking at it two-dimensionally. Driver isn't a case of hanging back and irons isn't a case of striking down. It's the same thing, just with a different setup position. So that's how you're going to blend it together for your driver, and that's how you're going to blend it together for everything moving forward. And hopefully that's going to help a lot of you out with that feeling of throw, helps the club stay on plane and stops it getting too vertical. Throw it into the pool of water to the side of your body. As you turn, will help you get the best of both worlds, where you're going to get a really solid contact, but also really good distance as well, and straight. And that's it. So work on it. Drop it in the comments box below whether that helps you and whether you want to see similar content like this around driver, or interestingly, whether you can understand whether it's the same sort of thing and it's the same swing that we want to almost holistically work for all of the clubs. Always appreciate one of those. Let me know what you want to see on the channel moving forward. Remember, it's free to subscribe. These tees. I'll catch you with you guys again really soon. I think I'm just going to hit one off the floor.